People often ask me how and where they should start off with their humble little garden. So when I got a little bit of land to play with, the first thing I did was set up a citrus section. So what we've got over here is we've got a mandarin tree. Right here is the lemon tree. So it was a lot smaller. It's grown. If you give it the room to grow, it'll grow. And then over here is a calamundum tree, aka I call them Cali. This has come from me having it on a balcony in a pot, and you can just see it's just got so much fruit. So it's also known as calamansi in some cultures, and what's the other name for it?
Calamundum.
Calamundum, but
Or
what's the other?
kumquat.
Kumquat is what people are probably more familiar with. And then we've got a lime going here. So it's growing quite wide, but it had quite a lot of fruit for a little plant. So that's the extent of the citrus garden. You know, the idea is you want to plant the fruits that you intend to really eat. So that's all the citrus, my citrus garden, but I'll show you what I've got at the back in a minute.
Is remove these suckers, because you can see that this is a grafted fruit tree. So here's a graft union, this is the rootstock, and this is your desired plant. So it's hard to tell because they're right on the graft union, but if you look closely you can see that these little bits here are actually growing out of that rootstock, and that means that it's a different plant to what you want. If you look at these leaves, the difference is subtle, but it is there. You can see that this leaf has quite a pointed end, whereas that one is more rounded, so you can see that they're actually two different plants.
Yeah, it's hard to see the camera.
And it's very subtle, but basically anything that grows from below this union you want to remove, because it will grow a lot more vigorously and take over this plant. You can see here on your little lime the same issue. You can see here there's a graft union. This is fine, it's growing from above it, but this one here is growing out of the rootstock below.
Oh yeah.
So you want to rip it off. You don't cut them because it'll just encourage it to reshoot. You want to tear it and injure it.
Mm-hmm.
So anything from below that rootstock bud union you want to remove.
And I was just learning that these yellow leaves, as such as these, signifies an iron deficiency in your plant, which
is caused by the cold weather. So in the winter, the plants, especially in our alkaline soils in South Australia, can't take up the iron.
Yep.
If you get yellowing leaves with a green vein, that's an iron deficiency. If it's reversed and you have a green leaf with a yellow vein, that's a magnesium deficiency. But it's really down to the cold weather. In the spring, when the soil warms up, the plant will be able to take that back up and it'll be fine.
I wish it was so simple to identify that in people. So this section of the garden, I thought, this is where we're going to put the veggies and some of the perennial herbs like rosemary that can just be there all year. Very low maintenance. I'm all about low maintenance. You can see just all you want to do is get as many herbs as you actually like to eat and grow them. This here is a bit of compost here, but I'll explain that in a minute. So this time of the year, and it's actually a new addition to the garden this year, is broad beans. So the reason why I haven't previously grown broad beans, so it's thanks to the woman behind the camera at the moment, the polyculturist. She's given me some broad beans because traditionally I don't like to really do too much work after I harvest. So broad beans require some work after, but they're a beautiful addition to the garden nonetheless. So we've got some coriander coming up through here. I love coriander. Cilantro is the other name for it. But yeah, parsley as well. So any herbs that you like to eat. I mean, you go to the shop and you spend $5, $5 for a bunch, whereas you can just grow your own, come out and just take a cutting of however much you need. Just take a cutting, and then this can grow as large as you'll allow it to grow, really. So let's have a look at what else we've got going down. There's some cabbage right here. Swiss chard. Got some beetroot coming up. The little guys, little babies. So hopefully they'll grow.
I don't think the camera's going to pick that up.
That's all right. Just believe us, it's there. And this big guy here is a globe artichoke, which is beautifully a perennial in this side of the world, based in the climate. So thankfully, again, this will just stay for as long as just keep looking after it. Yeah.
What multiply?
It'll multiply. Excellent. More cabbage. More cabbage. And what we've got here is we've got lettuce. Little baby lettuce growing. Some radish. So all of these things will be nice and lush. I don't know how long it will take, you reckon?
Radish is about 8 weeks at this time of year.
Yeah. So
In the summer, they're quicker.
you got to be patient when it comes to the growing game. A bit like games in the gym. It's the same as gardening. Okay. Now, initially, when you're starting a garden, if you've got some space and the soil is a bit dry, then dead basically. The soil is actually alive. It's a living organism. So what you want to do is you want to give it life. Like if you're not going to be planting yet, what you want to do is prepare your soil. So what I did was trench this area with compost. So it's a great way to not waste, and throw away scraps and things like that. So you get your food scraps, you dig a hole. Like I've got a hole out prepared down here for my next lot of compost. Just a little hole, and I just keep digging holes, and I put my food scraps in it, and then I bury it. It's pretty much that simple. But you're feeding the soil and you're giving it life. So, and in turn, it will give you food for your life. So in this little section of, well, it's not really the garden. It's an undisturbed
It's all
area of
garden.
land. Well, yes, it's land. If it's land, you can grow stuff. And what Danny's planting here for me, because she's so graciously given me some Jerusalem artichoke. Look at that.
Or
Yeah.
sunchokes in the US.
Sunchokes. And we're just going to plant these down in this area because it'll be mostly undisturbed. And then they can grow nice and big and lush.
It's a perfect vegetable for you because it's a bit of a slacker vegetable.
What are you calling me? No, I'm just kidding.
Because all that you do is dig a hole and throw one in.
Sounds pretty simple. I like simple.
Cover
No
it
nonsense.
over.
Mhm.
You don't need to worry about fertilizing these or watering these or anything really. They'll grow. These won't come up until the springtime. That one's gone a little bit mouldy
Which
around
is
the
a few
edge.
months away
Don't
for
worry
us
about
right
that.
now.
Yeah, so they'll come up in the springtime, but they'll grow to 12 feet. So you'll
About your
get,
height. No, I'm just kidding.
you'll get these beautiful yellow sunflowers, which is why I chose here for them, because it's out of the way. You're not going to need to disturb this area. They can just stay there permanently,
Awesome.
and you'll be able to see them from the front, which is quite pretty. But also, you don't dig them up until you want to eat them. So they can just stay in here all year. And once you've had them in your garden once, you'll have them forever. Some people say they can be a bit invasive.
Why
I say they're low care.
is that? Low care.
Yeah, because you'll never get them all out of the ground. So they do multiply. But as long as you eat them, if you're harvesting them, then it's not a problem. We don't get frost, but if you do have a frost-prone area, it's best to leave them in the ground until after the first frost because it sweetens them. For us, in our Mediterranean climate, there's a brick or something buried there.
Probably.
Oh no, it's then I just put them in the fridge for a couple of days, and I find that's enough to sweeten them.
Brilliant.
Every time I dig here, I find little bits of slate from the previous owners. Must have had a slate path here.
I would say so.
Yeah, very simple. You just dig a hole, throw them in, and then
And cover them up.
you'll have them forever.
Brilliant.
And very attractive to bees and beneficial insects. Our native blue-banded bees in South Australia really love them. So good
Awesome.
plant to have.
Well, thank you for adding them to my garden.
Very well.
Thank you for hanging out with us on this short video. I hope that there were some key takeaways. I think the biggest things that we want you to know when starting a home garden is start small, start with what you want to eat. Doesn't matter how much space you have, even if you just got a balcony or herbs that sit on the windowsill. You can start somewhere, and it's going to save you money. It's going to save you knowing where your foods come from because you grew it. Source your seeds. Make sure you get your seeds from an organic source. That way you don't have to worry about any other nasties, and just enjoy the process. So if you have any more questions, if you want to see me and a polyculturist do another video about learning how to grow things, we can do that. But I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos. Till next time.